Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into an in-depth analysis of The Eye, 2008, a film that blends supernatural horror with deep emotional drama. In this video, we'll explore the haunting journey of Sydney Wells, a talented violinist who, after regaining her sight through a corneal transplant, begins to experience terrifying and inexplicable visions. We'll break down the plot, examining how these visions not only disrupt her world, but also lead her on a quest for truth that spans from Los Angeles to Mexico. Over the next few minutes, you'll discover how the film intertwines themes of past trauma, fate, and the supernatural. We'll analyze Sydney's internal struggles, her evolving relationship with her visual therapist Paul Faulkner, and the symbolic meaning behind her cursed gift of sight. Whether you're a long-time fan or new to this chilling thriller, this analysis will reveal the layers of meaning hidden beneath the surface. So sit back, turn down the lights, and join us as we unravel the mystery behind The Eye, a story where every glimpse brings both hope and horror. Let's get started. The film begins amid the bustling modern life of Los Angeles with Sydney Wells, a talented classical musician whose life took a tragic turn due to a horrifying accident at the age of 5 that left her blind. Although her ability, emotional depth, and passion for music transform her into a character forced to confront the harsh realities of life both on stage and off, the loss of her sight represents a missing piece in her inner world, a void that will later intertwine with the film's mystical and supernatural elements. For years, as Sydney's life passed in a world of darkness and silence, the long-awaited day finally arrives. Her doctor announces that a suitable cornea donor has been found, bringing the long-awaited ray of hope into Sydney's life. The moment of the operation is a critical turning point both medically and emotionally that will change her life. In the first days after the surgery, her eyes partially open. However, this new beginning also brings with it unexpected and frightening experiences. As Sydney rediscovers the world with her newly transplanted eyes, what initially appears ordinary gradually gives way to inexplicable images that disturb her mind. At first, vague and blurry images, burning flames, suddenly appearing silhouettes, and spiritual presences of the dead disrupt her normal perception. This visual display is presented so intensely and realistically that it raises questions in the minds of the viewers. After the corneal transplant, what occurs in Sydney's life is not merely a physical recovery. Along with her new eyes, deep-seated wounds from the past and suppressed traumas begin to surface. Initially, regaining her sight is seen as a miracle. However, shortly thereafter, Sydney starts to experience terrifying, unexplainable visions on a continual basis. These visions, mostly comprising images of flames, fires, sudden death scenes, and symbols of destruction, sometimes appear as if they are messages coming from the realm of the dead, moments where past and future seem to intertwine. Her visual therapist and fellow musician Paul Faulkner attempts to offer a rational explanation for these extraordinary experiences. Yet it becomes evident with each passing day that these events have reached a supernatural level. Alongside regaining her sight, Sydney now acquires the ability to see what is normally unseen, a power that manifests both as a great strength and a terrifying curse. The eerie events that begin in Sydney's home and everyday life quickly start affecting those around her. With the return of her sight, the persistent images of death and destruction in her mind drive a wedge between her and her friends and family. While people assume her condition to be a mere mental breakdown, Sydney comes to believe that there is a curse or message behind it. Initially, these images are dismissed as personal nightmares. However, they gradually begin to mirror real-life events. In many scenes, the visions experienced by Sydney start overlapping with actual incidents. For instance, even minor accidents occurring in the streets or public transport appear to be heralds of a great catastrophe as seen in her mind. This phenomenon creates an internal conflict for her. On one hand, there is the desire to appreciate the beauty of her newly regained sense of sight, and on the other, the inevitability of pain and destruction. Paul Faulkner, who takes a closer look at Sydney's condition, tries to offer logical explanations, yet becomes convinced that there is a secret hidden beyond the events. Together with Sydney, he begins to investigate the source of these bizarre and frightening visions. The research leads to clues regarding the past of the cornea donor, Ana Cristina Martinez. While Paul supports Sidney with all his rational efforts, he simultaneously finds his own beliefs being questioned because no matter how rationally he behaves, it becomes clear that what is happening transcends normal human perception. Sidney, together with Paul, embarks on a long journey to reach the donor's family and uncover the truth behind this mystery. Following the clues discovered during their investigation, Paul and Sidney set out for Mexico in order to trace the origins of the cornea donor, Ana Cristina. This journey is not only a geographical transition, but also a process of spiritual cleansing and the quest for truth for both characters. In Mexico, interviews with Ana's mother unveil the tragedy behind the events. Ana's mother recounts the horrors her daughter experienced throughout her life, the premonitions she saw, and the terrible truth behind them. It becomes evident that Ana had foreseen the industrial accident and, unable to prevent it, was ultimately driven to end her life. These revelations mirror the images that continuously haunt Sidney's mind. She too is plagued by scenes filled with flames, devastation, and death. The information obtained in Mexico is interpreted as a sign of a supernatural destiny. The discoveries reveal to Sidney that these horrifying visions are not merely the result of personal trauma or mental illness. The corneal transplant carries with it a part of the donor's past and tragedy. As if it were a spiritual inheritance, the pain experienced by Ana is reborn through her eyes and transferred to Sidney. Although these images initially appear as terrifying scenes, they eventually come to indicate an impending great catastrophe in society. As Sidney strives to interpret these visual warnings, she simultaneously becomes a bearer of a prophecy that could save lives. Several events confirm her newfound power. In particular, during a scene involving heavy traffic and a police chase, the sudden appearance of a little girl in her vision serves as a clear omen of an impending accident. The film's climax is reached in moments when Sidney's visions directly mirror real-life events. In one instance, on a busy highway during a police chase, a scene unfolds in front of Sidney's eyes that underscores the critical dimension to which events have escalated. In that moment, the image of a little girl trapped inside a vehicle is not just a vision, but a definitive sign of impending death and destruction. Acting immediately, she warns those in the vehicles. She endeavors to alert the passengers in a bus or cars by conveying that there is an explosive danger inside. However, this intervention comes at a great personal cost for her. The ensuing chaos among the drivers, the chain reaction of explosions, and the accident lead to further injuries for Sidney, even putting her sight at risk once again. These dramatic events leave Sidney both physically and emotionally wounded. The explosions, shattered glass flying through the air, and the ensuing turmoil symbolize the pain she endures after momentarily regaining her sight. Following an intense recovery period in the hospital, she bears deep scars both physically and emotionally. Yet this painful process becomes a turning point for her. Confronting the darkness within, she finds an opportunity to re-examine the meaning of life beyond mere physical sight. By overcoming the horror and traumatic visions she has endured, she begins to sow the seeds of hope anew. Even though she is again partially blinded, she discovers a new light and maturity within her inner world. When she returns to Los Angeles, she approaches her performances on stage with a deeper, more meaningful interpretation. Her cursed eyes and the pain they carry become an integral part of her artistic expression, guiding her along the thin line between life's fragility and the inevitability of death. Negozio is not limited to mere elements of horror and suspense. It also questions the vulnerabilities within a person's inner world, the manner in which the marks of the past reflect onto the future, and the place that supernatural forces occupy in human life. Sidney's internal conflicts, the fear of the unknown and the redemption hidden within that fear, form the foundation of the film. The visual curse brought about by the corneal transplant is used as a metaphor that connects the past with the future. The fact that the main character is forced to relive one of the most critical moments of her childhood trauma reminds the audience of the fragility of human nature, as well as the latent power that lies within. The investigation conducted with Paul Faulkner opens the door to a world where rationality and the supernatural coexist. After enduring all these traumatic experiences, Sydney ultimately reaches a stage where she accepts her losses and pain while stepping into a new life with renewed awareness. The closing of her eyes once again is not merely a physical loss, it is also symbolic of an inner awakening and spiritual renewal. Now back on stage, she appears as a more mature and profound character, her performance enriched by the painful imprints of her dark past. No matter how ruthless or unpredictable life may be, Sydney, having survived the terror and despair, gains a hopeful perspective both in her art and personal life. The film reminds the audience that the marks of the past do not determine the future, and that one can rediscover oneself and be reborn even in the darkest moments. The Eye tells a story that begins as a medical miracle but soon transforms into a horrifying nightmare under the influence of supernatural forces. Sydney's childhood trauma, the cornea transplant that reopens the window of sight, and the ensuing images of death, destruction, and premonition constitute the film's main themes. The investigation she undertakes with Paul Faulkner is not only a physical intervention to prevent an accident, but also a symbolic reckoning with her inner world. The journey to Mexico, where cultural differences, fate, and death converge, and the eventual return to Los Angeles, underscore that even pain and loss can pave the way for new beginnings. The film offers viewers an experience that is as visually and emotionally intense as it is thought-provoking, presenting an epic narrative of the human soul's struggle against darkness and the unknown. Thank you for watching our deep dive into The Eye 2008. We hope our analysis helped you uncover the hidden layers of Sydney Wells' journey and the film's haunting themes. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned for more insightful film breakdowns. And until next time, keep exploring the mysteries of cinema. Goodbye.